Sometimes greatness is unexpected. Sometimes greatness is earned. Sometimes greatness is thrust upon you. This is no show like any other. Greatness will be measured. Greatness will be weighed. For the soon to be greatest show on the internet, this is the Rush Report.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another Rush Report weekly update with Nick and Keith. We're doing this on our regular scheduled time on Wednesday night, so we don't know what's going on. We don't know how it's going to happen, and we have no score updates from Thursday night's game. So we will be picking these matchups right along with you, not knowing anything about anything. That's the way to start. Nick, how are you after a thriller of a win this week?
You know, and here I am sitting up watching that awful game.
I fell asleep in the third quarter. I won't lie. That was terrible Monday night.
It was a bad game. Both were bad games.
Both were bad games. Maybe this week we're finally out of the preseason. Sunday games were good, though. You've got to admit, Sunday games
much better. Much better. I think there was much more rhythm.
It was. I felt like this week finally was football season. We got the bad play out. This week, I think you're going to start seeing offenses shine. And could we start seeing some coaches really on the hot seat at Canada?
Oh, I think it's well over time for people to start being on the hot seat.
I mean, Matt Canada is awful.
Matt Canada, I think of Joe Barry and Green Bay with that defense. There's no reason Green Bay should have lost that game to Atlanta.
No, and I don't even think. Let me see. So statistically, I mean, here comes the jaded Packer fan, right? You know how many yards and completions Jordan Love had in the fourth quarter?
17.
I want to say he was 0 for 12 or 13. It was bad.
I mean, had that game won, and they gave it back to Atlanta.
Now, statistically, he had a great game. He's doing great as his first year starter. It's great to see, but I mean, statistically, still a good fantasy performance. But that's, as a fan of the game, that's not how you win a game.
No, but I think it comes back to that the defense didn't help. They let Atlanta score in the fourth quarter. And talking with a true Packer fan, not that you're not, but they pointed out that Packers always struggle in Atlanta, no matter who the quarterback is. If it's a domed stadium, they're not used to domes, but you would think that they would be because of the division that they play in.
Yeah. What was it? It's the Aaron Jones thing. It's really interesting to think that A.J. Dillon couldn't move the ball. I mean, he's a big guy. And he's a great pass catcher. He just didn't show up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in that backfield. I'm sure we'll dive into that. What was the one thing that stuck out to you this week in fantasy?
I think you're starting to see some more high scores on players, and some consistency overall. I mean, just in all the leagues I'm in, there's a lot more players scoring across the board now. I think after the first week, so we'll see how much more consistency that really comes down. Is everybody now stepping up, or are they just coming back into the down to an average? Like, I don't really think there's any major big week one performers that stick out, but everybody seems to be consistent. Hawkinson looks really good. Some of the rookies look really good. Olave looked really good the other day, so it's a matter of consistency, I think.
Yeah, I think the thing that stuck out to me was the lack of some big name running backs not getting touches. I think of Breece Hall, only 4 touches. They were down, but he's their playmaker. You got him and Garrett Wilson. I think you've got to get him the ball, figure out ways to get him the ball. Another one that hurt, obviously, was the Nick Chubb injury, but some high-profile injuries this week, too. Nick Chubb, Saquon's going to be missing at least a week, probably 2 or 3. Eckler, we're not quite sure what's going on. And what is going on that Najee Harris is
he doesn't. I don't know. It's so sad. I mean, he's a great talent, but he cannot run the ball. I think it's more of play design. I don't really think it's a him thing.
I'm a jaded Steelers fan, and that's what I think it is.
I don't see the ball moving right. He's not doing anything correct with the ball. I mean, Warren. I mean, he really isn't bad talent. He really isn't. But you drafted Najee for the reason. You got to try to incorporate him, not just like, oh, we're going to move on without him. No, because your offense, other than Pickens, looks awful.
Yeah, it was pathetic. I won't lie. But that's really week 2 in a nutshell for everybody. Congratulations to those of you that got your first win of the season last week. It's good to be in the winner's circle. Congratulations to those. I guess I should say those of us that are 2-0. Can I say that? Can I get away with that?
Be careful. You're playing with
I know,
fate.
careful. But and then those that are 0-2, keep working. Season's still young.
0-2 isn't the end of, and I'd have to go back and look at my seasons to see how I did. The first year in the Bigs, when I won with Patrick Mahomes and Kareem Hunt that year, like when he was still with Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of get a run, either start really bad or get a run and stay hot. I mean, or you can just win 2 games last year and still not get relegated.
Yeah. Talk about that though. This is a new year, so we're gonna get into our matchups this week. This week's matchup of the week in the Bigs: Tony Romo, Jim Nantz calling the game. Your matchup, Nick, with Jeffrey. Now, there's some injury concerns as we look at this. Eckler, Jalen Waddle, is Christian Watson finally going to play? And does Ayuk, is his shoulder healthy? There's some big questions here from some big-time players.
Isaiah Pacheco's a new one to me. I'm just looking at this like everybody else. This is brand new to me. I didn't know that he was on the board this week.
It was just a limited in practice. I think they're just being cautious with him. It doesn't look like anything serious, but it is something to note because that Kansas City backfield, nobody really knows who the guy is. I think they want Pacheco to be the guy, but they're going to give touches to Jerick McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire because it's Andy Reid.
Yeah, I mean, CEH, he's not going anywhere. He's not going to take the job by any means, but Pacheco, he's still going to get the bulk of it until proven otherwise, I guess. I mean, Jeffrey looks like, I'm just looking at his, I mean, he looks like he's got a couple pieces he could plug and play this week. It's not going to be as wonderful. I mean, like you mentioned, the Eckler injury, I don't know what that's going to look like yet. Ayuk, don't know a whole lot. I could tell you Waddle's in concussion protocol. Watson's, is he going to make his debut? Is he not going to make his debut? I don't know if he was limited today or not. So we'll see. I mean, I have pieces. I'll be okay.
Yeah.
If it's only just 2. If it's 3, we're in trouble.
Yeah. Jeffrey's got some interesting issues here too. Does he go with Matt Breida against the Niners being the number 1 guy on Thursday night? It's not a favorable matchup. It's a Thursday night game in San Francisco. That's a tough call, but there's a name there that I really like on Jeffrey's pick. Roschon Johnson. Okay? Roschon Johnson is a name that wasn't talked about much. Probably because he was the Bears' 3rd stringer after the preseason. But Roschon Johnson's a running back that I think can actually make Justin Fields better and give the Bears a shot. Maybe not Sunday against Kansas City, But moving forward, Roschon Johnson, he's a guy. He's a guy. He really is.
I have Khalil Herbert stock, so I'm trying to say no. But he's trending upward. He truly is. And it's really cool to see, a guy go from third string all the way up to he's now potentially could be the number 2 or take touches away. No.
Right. Yes, people. We have upgraded our systems now. We now have bump sounds for everybody. Okay. But Roschon Johnson, he's a special back, and you don't draft running backs high anymore, unless if you're the Steelers, Cowboys, or Lions. It's just the way that it is. The way the NFL is right now. So if you can find a 3rd, 4th round running back where Roschon was drafted, I really like him. I think he's poised to be a breakout star here in a couple weeks. So look for that. But let's get to quarterbacks. Can I just say Jared Goff's not a joke quarterback anymore?
No, he's not. He's probably not going to be your 20-point guy every week, but, he's hitting that 15 mark. So he's got good numbers. The Falcons' defense isn't horrible.
Yeah, he threw a bad pick 6 on Sunday, but he responded with driving the Lions down the field and scoring a touchdown. He's going to probably make 1 or 2 throws that makes you scratch your head during the game. But he's serviceable. I think he's a top 12 quarterback in the league. He might even be a top 5 quarterback in the NFC, maybe even top 3, depending on what goes on. I do like Jared Goff play against the Falcons this week, but if Mahomes doesn't have 25 points this week against the Bears defense, I don't know who can.
Yeah. What is his average? I just had his average up here a minute ago. 40 points. So he's Patrick Mahomes has averaged 20 points a week. He's probably close. Yeah, he's a 30-point guy this week. Not that Jordan Love's a bad quarterback, but they played the Buccaneers last week, correct?
No, the Bears? The Bears played the Bucs, and it wasn't pretty.
No. So it's it's a very vulnerable team.
Yeah, they're ripe for the picking. Especially when Justin Fields is coming out and saying it's coach's fault that the offense is stagnant.
That's not a good look.
It's not. But let's talk running backs here. Eckler and Khalil Herbert. Now, if Eckler's healthy, Eckler's in for a big day this week.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing is his health's been the concern. Joshua Kelly hasn't done anything to even establish himself as being the next guy up. I think maybe the first week he was decent. Last week he was terrible. So anybody that has Joshua Kelly, just be an eye on this. It may be something.
Yeah, the Vikings couldn't stop anybody last week. And granted, the Eagles' offensive line, they're a good offensive line. They've built that offensive line. And DeAndre Swift is above average running back. I think, though, if you have a Vikings running back, you're going to be sitting pretty this week. Khalil Herbert against the Chiefs, I don't like that at all. You saw last week against the Jags and Chiefs game what Chris Jones does when he comes back. I didn't like that. I didn't like it one bit. Khalil Herbert, he's going to be lucky to break 8 points this week. He's touchdown dependent on a screen pass.
You think that badly?
I do. Chris Jones makes a difference in that defense, and you saw that last week. I'm going to be bullish on that, and part of it is too, the Bears aren't doing anything to get their running backs the ball. They're relying on Justin Fields. It's not healthy what's going on in Chicago right now.
The land of misfit toys.
It is. Where your running backs, you have a good crew of running backs. If Pacheco's healthy, which I think he will be, I think it was just precautionary. The Bears can't stop the run. Bijan against the Lions, Bijan's a starter no matter what. And Kenny Walker against the Panthers, you're ripe for the picking. You could have 3 running backs score 15 points easily.
It's Pacheco. It's no matter whether he's healthy or not. I can see them if they get up early, them just pulling him right back too.
Oh yeah, it might be a Jerick McKinnon week. I mean, it all depends. That running back room is talented and good. I mean, they could have either one go off. So you could have 3 running backs have 15 points, or Pacheco only have 4 points. We'll see what happens. The wide receivers. You think Christian Watson's the real deal in Green Bay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's the real deal. He has the talent. He has the separation ability. I think Romeo Doubs is a decent number 2. Jaden Reed definitely is the wide receiver to own, though, on the team currently.
You will not drop Jaden Reed.
I love Jaden Reed. He's not on my team, obviously, anymore. Craig picked him up, but he is the one to own until Christian Watson's healthy.
Okay, all right. You're going to live and die by that. You also have Jordan Addison and Zay Flowers on the bench. Zay Flowers is looking like he is going to be a big part in that Baltimore offense.
Yeah, both guys look really good in those offenses. Addison's getting plenty of targets, even with Jefferson, and Zay Flowers looks really good, even with Bateman and OBJ and Andrews.
And OBJ might be out. Just going to throw that out there. And then you have Marvin Mims. It was last week a flash in the pan for Marvin Mims, or is he the real deal?
He's the real deal. He only got 3 targets, though. I mean, that's still a rebuilding offense.
3 targets, but weren't 2 of them touchdowns?
One was a touchdown, like a 70-yard touchdown.
Okay, so he's getting not many targets, but it seems like he has the big play capability. So it'll be interesting to see that. On Jeffrey's side, Brandon Ayuk, if he's healthy, I like this matchup for Ayuk.
Ayuk's looking great this year.
He is. Jeffrey said it at the beginning of the season. Ayuk was the guy to have. I laughed at him and said, no, it's Debo. It's always going to be Debo. Let's not say Jeffrey's right, because nobody likes to hear when Jeffrey's right. Unless he's teaching math class. Well, I'll give him his credit. All right. And then Gabe Davis, Mr. Big Disappointment. Is it too early to say that?
Yeah, it's not too early. I think it's a retooling Bills offense.
Game
like
one.
You got Dalton Kincaid. You got Diggs. You got some running backs. I mean, just trying to feed everybody.
Yeah, and then Devontae Smith is. I think Devontae Smith is better than AJ Brown now.
He is the wide receiver to own.
I will say I do like the Darren Waller and TJ Hawkinson matchup. I feel like it's closer than what it should be. That what MFL says, just because I feel like Waller's a safety valve on Thursday night.
He'll be a good safety valve, but I think Waller will be it. He's touchdown dependent this week.
Yeah, I agree. So let's come down to this. We've spent quite a bit of time on this matchup. All right, probably, and it deserves it. This is a good matchup. It's 2 teams that are going to be fighting for a playoff spot all year. Obviously, you're picking yourself, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. But due to the lack of consistency or availability, I'm going to take you as well. I like your running backs. I don't trust the running backs. And the running backs that Jeffrey has don't have good matchups this week.
Yeah, I mean, Jeffrey's got some things working against him this week. When anything you start mentioning shoulder injuries, I mean, that's kind of concerning. And once Eckler gets healthy again, he'll be an easy plug and play. But he's still very questionable.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Okay, moving on. The next matchup that we've got is Craig and Adams. Now, there is some injury issues that Adam has. He's got to take care of Nick Chubb. That was an unfortunate injury, and that's all I'm going to say about that. It was ugly. I didn't think it was dirty, but you never.
It just happens.
At all. Never. But he's got Devin Singletary on the bench. He's got capable running backs. Capable. Can we call Najee Harris capable?
It's the Raiders.
I mean, the Raiders just let James Cook run all over them. So we'll see what happens there.
Maybe it's a good bounce back week for him.
And then Rashad White. I like Rashad White, and I don't because it's a bad matchup this week.
Mm-hmm. Eagles are good defense.
Yeah, and then Captain Kirk Cousins. I don't think Kirk's the problem in Minnesota.
No, it's not a bad offense.
I don't think you can blame him. I'm even going to go as far to say I don't think you can blame him for his primetime follies. He played great last Thursday night. The defense just couldn't stop Philadelphia.
And it's a 1:00 game too.
It's 1:00 game. It's at home. Look for Kirk Cousins to have that 16, 17-point game, especially against a banged-up secondary that seems like the Chargers can't stop anybody right now.
Nope.
They're 0-2, and surprisingly. And on the other side, you got Justin Herbert. This is one of those classic quarterback fantasy matchups that happen in real life. Herbert Cousins. Who you got this week?
Kirk Cousins.
You're going Kirk. I think this is a statement game for the Chargers, and I think Justin Herbert balls out. I think this week he comes together and he just finally puts the Chargers on his back against a bad Vikings defense and just throws the ball all over the field, and Justin Herbert has a 25-point game.
He definitely needs to do something this week because it's been very disappointing.
Just saying, you've got to rely on your quarterback, and if they want to win, that's how they got to do it. Now, Christian McCaffrey and the surprise, Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams, he's the guy now.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to worry about Cam Akers coming in and stealing touches anymore. Kyren Williams.
So crazy.
I remember last year, I added him for this purpose and this purpose alone, that at some point Cam Akers would be traded or cut and Kyren Williams would be the guy. I was just a year early.
You're early at the curve. It's crazy that it even happened.
But Bengals struggle to stop the run. Kyren Williams, he looks good.
He's been plugged into that offense all season, so I mean he's right where he needs to be.
Yeah, and then at wide receiver, Adams got DeAndre Hopkins and DK Metcalf. DK had a good game, and the Panthers' pass defense isn't great. It's not bad, but it's not great. But can you really beat Jamar Chase, Christian Kirk, and Terry McLaurin?
No. I mean, Jamar Chase they got offensive woes. I don't know what their issue is, but it's gonna have to click eventually. I mean, the Rams they're a good defense, but they're still beatable.
Yeah. And then Kittle and Goddard. I don't like Goddard at all this year. Not one bit.
No. He has gone away, like definitely way back to the pack than he was.
Yeah, he's not getting the targets. I feel like that's part of the play calling now. And George Kittle, at some point, Kittle's going to have his big game.
Could very well be this one. The Giants, this has got a bad defense.
The Giants don't have a good defense. Kittle could have a good 10-point game this week. I wouldn't be surprised. And then what am I seeing here? Arizona as a defense for Adam?
We are seeing it. And it's supposed to be submitted Tuesday.
Yeah, he hasn't submitted a lineup yet, so I'm sure.
Tuesday.
We know
this is last one.
We know Adam's a competitor. I don't think he wants the Cardinals defense, but we got to go with it. So give me the Niners defense. But this is 2 0-2 teams, okay? 2 0-2 teams.
And Craig being a very surprising 0-2 team. He is scoring very well still.
He is, and he's gotten snake bit. Maybe that'll be maybe that'll be an award of the future, the snake bit award. But I think you've got to like Craig's team this week. All of his guys need to respond in real life. Justin Herbert, Jamar Chase, Terry McLaurin had a touchdown last week, but he's fighting off Jahan Dotson. Kittle needs to become the guy. I think there's guys here that are going to go off.
Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately for him, even if Anthony Richardson is hurt, but he's looking really good.
He's looking fantasy good, not NFL good.
Oh, fantasy good.
agree with that. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. But I think this is Craig's matchup, and I don't think a 15-point win would be surprising here.
Yeah, Adam's got a few things to figure out.
Yep. Here we have. Is this our first father-son matchup of the season between Micah and Nate?
Yeah.
I think this is our first father-son matchup in the league, and when you think about it, we do have quite a few father-son family ties in this league. You've got Dan with Nate and Adam in the bigs, Matt's in the Wee League. You've got Craig with Jeffrey and Darren. And now the second and third generation of our league facing off for the first time in the bigs. I know they played each other last year, but this is a big deal. Big deal. And Nate needs a win back.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see his path to getting it this week. It looks like Burrow is a little banged up and he's been inconsistent, so he's trying Russell Wilson.
Well, and I think you've got to start Russell Wilson over Joe Burrow, because if Burrow doesn't go Monday night, you don't have anybody.
Yep.
And
So
that's a big deal.
Yeah, and look at Micah. He's rolling with his hometown pride of Geno Smith.
Were we wrong about Geno Smith last week, or were we wrong? I thought he wasn't going to have a good game. I should have known better.
I still wanted to doubt him.
I wanted to doubt him, but at some point you've got to say he's an average quarterback.
He's going to win. He'll still keep you in the games.
Yep. But the running back matchup, Connor and Derrick Henry, I don't like Derrick Henry this week at all.
No. Not against the Browns front line.
Cleveland's defense is for real, and if Cleveland wants to win, that defense has to play lights out. And I think you saw in week 1 that it's capable of doing that. And honestly, Monday night, they played lights out. It's just that their offense gave up 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So look for Derrick Henry to score below his projected 14 points.
Yeah.
James Conner's kind of the same way. That Cowboys run defense, that's good too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's an interesting running back matchup this week for them. I mean, will DeAndre Swift still be the guy?
I don't think DeAndre Swift is the guy. I think this week might be a Boston Scott week, just because DeAndre Swift had the big week last week. And I think they will try to keep their running backs healthy.
And you got Zach Moss. He's back.
I mean, but against the Ravens defense.
Yeah.
All these running backs have bad matchups this week. Just going to throw that out there. Bad matchup. Cowboys, Browns, Ravens, and a surprising good Buccaneers defense. Bad matchups for running backs in this. So this might be a low-scoring affair. But then when you get to wide receiver, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, I think that's a wash. I really do.
And Devontae really stepped up last week and looked really good.
He did. Tyler Lockett had his one good game of the season.
He'll go back away for a couple weeks.
4 weeks with a bad week. And then Jerry Jeudy, is he healthy? Is he playing? Is he not? I think I like Kendrick Bourne a little bit more this week, but I don't. I do, but I don't. I don't know what I think of that Patriot offense.
Yeah.
But where the edge comes here, especially because of matchup, Calvin Ridley over Cortland Sutton. Calvin Ridley should have a touchdown last week. He just couldn't get his toe.
I mean, and Nate hasn't really had much of a choice right now as far as health-wise, rolling with 2 Denver wide receivers.
Yeah, maybe Zay Jones, but I wouldn't be shocked if I almost in this instance would put Njoku as my flex. I think the Browns are going to need to rely on Njoku because they don't have Nick Chubb anymore. And how do you help a quarterback? Check downs with a tight end. And Njoku, big body, fast guy. Just going to throw that out there. But Dawson Knox, Mark Andrews. This is where I think Nate does have the huge advantage. Mark Andrews is back. He looks healthy. He's going to have a full week of practice. Look for him to have a big game this week.
Very fair. I don't trust Dawson Knox.
I don't either. And then defenses. I think the Bills' defense is still good. I think week 1 they just got unlucky. They forgot to show up. Huge emotion. Not terribly surprised. And that Steelers defense against the Raiders, Garoppolo looked bad last week.
Mm-hmm.
But it's in Vegas.
He'll be susceptible this week to get.
We'll see what happens. I mean, the Steelers defense is hurting a little bit because of injuries to Cam Hayward. And we'll see if Minka is fully healthy. But we'll see how this goes. So when it comes down to it, I don't like the running backs. I like Calvin Ridley. And I think Calvin Ridley puts Micah over the edge for Micah to actually get the win this week. And Nate's going to go drop to 0-3 this week.
I don't like this matchup at all. I mean, it's a hard one to pick. There's problems everywhere. I think they're picking at the dead corpses at this point. I'm gonna go opposite. I'm gonna give Nate a shot this week.
All right, there we go. We finally differ on something. All right. Up next, we've got 2 of our out-of-towners. I mean, I know we have quite a few out-of-towners in this league now because we've all started to move around, but we've got my matchup with Jeremy all the way down in good old Texas.
In the heart of Texas.
The Lobster.
And Mr. Lobster Man.
So, I'm expecting you to say some bad Trevor Lawrence joke because of the bad game he had last week.
I think his hair's getting in the way.
Oh, there it is. But the thing is, I said this to a guy that I work with who's a huge fantasy guy, and he thought I was crazy for taking Trevor Lawrence so high. Trevor Lawrence didn't throw any picks last week.
Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback.
Trevor Lawrence had 4 touchdown potential passes that went off his wide receivers' fingertips or couldn't get the toes down. That's not the quarterback's fault.
No.
His job is to throw it where only his receiver can. And this week, Trevor Lawrence has a juicy matchup against the Texans.
Against the Texans, yeah. The problem is he's averaging just under 10 points a game.
Yeah, but last week you saw the Chris Jones. Kansas City's defense was different with Chris Jones. I will go down and say that 14 points is too low for Trevor Lawrence this week.
I mean, he got 5 points last week, 14 points against the Colts.
You can throw out week 1 because we can throw out the week 1 for everybody, whether it was a huge score or not. Just going to throw that out there. And then on the other side, Jeremy does have Dak. Now, I
Against
don't
the Cardinals.
Prescott. But that matchup, look at what Daniel Jones did to the Cardinals and think, is Dak in for a big week this week finally?
I think so. I mean, they were down, and all of a sudden they got too comfortable.
And they let it go. I mean, Dak, he's going to sit there and roast on them all day. The Cardinals are nothing.
Yeah, but is this one of those weeks, too, that you just hand the ball off 30 times because you're up big? They have the line to do that, too.
They'll probably run it. I mean, but he's going to probably score early.
We'll see how that goes. But running backs, I don't know what to do. The Cam Akers news going to Minnesota. What does that mean for Alexander Madison? Does he just become the short yard touchdown guy now?
A lot of teams are a 2-back system. I mean, wouldn't be surprised. He's the bigger back.
Yeah. And then you have ETN against the Texans. I think ETN's due for a big game, and I think you're going to see it this week.
Mm-hmm.
And then Algier, Kelly, Pollard. I like the Pollard play this week. Josh Kelly, I don't hate it. I don't love it, but
No.
could do better, could do worse. And then Algiers touchdown dependent against the Lions. It seems like he's the goal line guy in Atlanta.
Yeah, health will dictate a lot of this lineup, it looks like.
Yeah, but one thing's for sure, Justin Jefferson and Mike Williams. I don't like Mike. I personally never draft Mike Williams anymore. Not because of the lack of talent, but because he's not available. What's the best availability? And Mike Williams, he's healthy right now. He looks the part. And if I said Justin Herbert's going to come out and have a huge game, that means his receivers have to have a good game. And I think Mike Williams is in for a good game this week.
He stands to benefit from his production, obviously. Tight ends, nothing big there. So, I mean, it's definitely one wide receiver and checkdowns to running backs.
Yeah, and we know what Justin Jefferson's going to do. He's Justin Jefferson. He doesn't need a touchdown to have a big game. I think we've seen that this year. And I think he's going to be mad that he dropped a touchdown last week and then fumbled out of the end zone. So look for Justin Jefferson to get back in the end zone. And then on my end, CeeDee Lamb. Not bad for a number 3 pick, huh?
Bijan Robinson was better.
Bijan. Stop talking. It's my turn. But then Pickens. Pickens still, all he needs is a little bit of room to break one. He had a 71-yard touchdown. Thank you, George Pickens.
I'm telling you, he's the only bright spot in that offense right now.
He is. And then Debo is Debo. I don't know what to think of Debo. I like Debo. But is his value getting hurt because there's so many mouths to feed now in San Francisco?
He's what, 28 years old?
He's 27, 28. But you got guys like Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Rashad Jennings, George Kittle, Elijah Mitchell. I mean, you can just keep naming guys that are effective with the ball in their hands. Okay?
Yeah, there's one ball.
So I'm a little concerned about Debo's value. So if anybody's looking for a wide receiver, and he is on the market. So if you want to come on the Rush Report and make claims about who's available, who's not, Nick and I wouldn't deny that from you at all. And since we get to do the Rush Report, I'm going to take advantage of this and say Deebo Samuel is officially available. Let Adam Schefter know.
Da-da-da.
All right. But tight end, I really like Sam Laporta.
We were just talking about that. I mean, he looks really good.
He does, and he's a guy that he's a tight end that's getting targets. Every year we seem to talk about tight ends that come in that need a year to develop and a year to get used to the system, and it seems like Laporta didn't need that. And I mean, he's averaging 7.5 points a game right now, which for a rookie tight end, I think anybody would take 7.5 points out of their tight end spot.
Mm-hmm. It's a healthy number. I mean, you need to stay right around the average mark in order. I mean, 10 is the mark you want every week, but if you get the closer you get, the better.
Yep. I will say, Jeremy does have a couple options on the bench. You think Cam Akers plays this week?
No.
So Cam Akers gone. Jerome Ford. Kevin Stefanski
Yes.
saying he's the guy. And I don't
For this week. I think it's going to be a two-back team.
Yeah, and I don't understand why they don't want to try Jerome Ford out more. He did have 106 yards on Monday night. Is that not good anymore in the NFL?
You're just, all you're doing is you're increasing your salary cap burden. Yeah, it's $4 million they just paid him.
Yeah, like for a year. I don't hate it.
No,
And then
it's not awful.
Aaron Jones. Yeah. Aaron Jones healthy this week. Even if he's healthy, do you play him?
You play him. You're playing a trick. It's your home opener.
Okay.
They're going to play him. I think if he's healthy, you play him. He is who you want. They saw last week they couldn't do it without him.
Good point. Good point. And then just looking at this defense, these are two really good defensive matchups.
Patriots are no slouch. I mean, they're going to score right around 7 points, and that's about 12 points might be just about right, if not more, because Bears are just awful.
Don't worry, Justin Fields, your coaching doesn't get better. Keep complaining. All right. I'm obviously picking myself. I don't think that surprises anybody, but who do you got this week?
I think the real weak thing going this week for Jeremy is his tight end. It's really concerning. The Josh Kelly play is going to be concerning, but you know what? My boy Aaron Jones will be in this week, so I'm going to give Jeremy the nod.
You should have known that was coming.
Of course.
All right. I couldn't help myself. All right. Moving on. Dave's team against Dan's. Now, Dave had a good bounce back last week, but he's still 0-2.
Dave will get heated up. He always does. Every year he heats up.
Year his at the beginning of the year, earlier or later in the year, so even against the Broncos defense, looks like the guy that everybody thought he'd be at the number 5.
You just cut out there the whole segment there.
Oh boy, do we need to go back?
Yeah, we can just restart this. It's fine.
All right. Take 2 of Dave's coming right now live. This is why we do it live, everybody. Dave's got a good team. It looks like Dave could heat up, but we know Dave has a tendency at some point to make a move that sparks him to avoid relegation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he'll go on a nice little run here at some point.
Yeah, last year he started off really hot and then cooled down. He will get Cooper Kupp back at some point, which I think is valuable. He's got Cooper Kupp 2.0 in Puka. So it'll be interesting. But Tua Tagovailoa, he looks like a legitimate NFL starting quarterback now. He doesn't.
He's such a good quarterback. I like him. I don't like being a lefty quarterback, but I really do like him.
Yeah, I think if you didn't have the injury concerns, I think you might say he's Steve Young-esque. Like, the way he plays is just the way, like, Steve Young moves. I was watching old highlights of the 49ers the other day in Bill Walsh's A Football Life, because I'm a nerd and that's what I like to do. And watching Steve Young play kind of reminded me of watching Tua. And Tua comes from that West Coast offense. He plays in that West Coast offense, and Tua looks like a young Steve Young.
He looks so good, though. I mean, it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that he's healthy again, and actually able to produce. Now, on the other end, Daniel Jones, I don't think he's not gonna have a week like last week. He's going to go up against the number 1 defense, and it's going to be up.
I know Dan's a Giants fan. Is this a week you think he's going to start Brock Purdy against his Giants? To me, it makes the most sense.
Yeah, and I think we're starting to see Brock Purdy not just be a game manager.
Yeah, he can sling it a little bit. I mean, he's a good little quarterback.
Yeah, and he's proving that you don't need to just run the ball to be effective. His weapons are good, so I like the Brock Purdy play this week. But no matter what, give me Tua over either of those two guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then for running backs, feel like these are almost mirror images of each other. Breece Hall, is he going to get touches or not? Joe Mixon, does he have value anymore? Does he have life? Dameon Pierce and David Montgomery, are they actually good? Or did they just have good week ones? And then Brian Robinson and Samaje Perine, both are in a timeshare. Are they touchdown dependent?
He's very touchdown dependent, but like, I mean, you got to give the edge to Dave's team. I mean, I'm just looking over, like, on paper, Dave's team is set up for the long stretch of the season where he could easily become the 3 or 4 by the end of the season. Like with Puka Nuka, okay, so, and then Jahan Dotson. I mean, those are great. I mean, again, we were just talking about A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, but he's got Kareem Hunt. Jalen Warren at this rate could be the starting back, but Kenneth Gainwell, don't doubt him. Breece Hall, Dameon Pierce, Brian Robinson, Jake Ferguson, Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts could get it together. I mean, his team is very scary right this second.
Yeah, and I feel like Dan's team does have that capability of possibly falling backwards. I mean, it's 2-0 right now, but that was, I felt like, last week because of a effort by Daniel Jones. His running backs are questionable at best. We can't trust Joe Mixon anymore. Since he had that 5-touchdown game last year, he's not the same, and that defense just isn't clicking yet. But David Montgomery's he's starting to lose touches already to Jahmyr Gibbs. But Samaje Perine's getting more touches. So I don't hate Perine. Where Dan's strengths is in wide receiver. Keenan Allen's healthy, and he's looking good. But is Keenan Allen going to be able to survive this season?
His health's a problem year in and year out.
Yeah, and then Michael Pittman, it's trending toward Gardner Minshew throwing him the ball this week.
Yeah, that's Elijah Moore seems to be the safer play right now.
I think Elijah Moore is the safer player, and I'd assume Dan's going to get Travis Kelce back up on his starting roster. I understood why keeping him out last week, but yeah, I don't think you keep Travis Kelce out.
Yeah. He's healthy, unquestionably healthy. He's always started. That's without a doubt.
Yep. And then defenses. Give me the Jets defense this week.
No. Nope. I think they're both trending towards both being 0-pointers this week.
That's another bold, nice, bold, statement.
I'm just thinking, I don't trust the Jets defense and the Bucks defense against the Eagles. I mean, they could both be 0 points this week. I mean, they could be just null and could be really hurting them this week.
Yeah, so when it comes down to it, I'm even with putting Travis Kelce in. I'm going to take Dave this week because of the quarterback play. I think Dave has the higher ceiling, but I could also see Dan making a couple moves that scratch our heads when we see it, but then coming up with a win.
Dan does some crazy stuff, but it always seems to work out.
Yeah,
I mean, he got relegated, but I mean, this is somebody he's a veteran player, fantasy player, baseball, football. I mean, he seems to make the right moves. So yeah, but I'm gonna go with Dave this week. He's got everything rolling this week.
All right, moving on. All right, we have Darren's matchup with Christy. Now, for anybody that doesn't care, because I know everybody will, last week, Christy lost in this league, but she beat Darren in 2 separate leagues. So Darren might be out for a little bit of revenge this week. Just throw that out there. Not trying to embarrass you, Darren, but
I just can't.
He's got a quarterback who's a robot.
Considering I'm in 4 leagues, this is the only league that I won last week, so
Oh,
It is what it is.
I never want my wife to not want to play fantasy football. So, you gotta give it to, gotta let her win every once in a while. But man, did it feel good to win last week? I'm just gonna say.
It's okay, Christy. We still love you.
I know. Everybody does. Everybody roots for her when she plays me. It's okay. I know the cards are stacked against me. Well, let's get back to this one. Darren has Justin Fields. Now, Darren loves Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm.
Loves Justin Fields. Darren has a thing for running quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, RG3, Justin Fields.
Who's trash.
I think Fields isn't the quarterback at the end of the year in Chicago.
No, it's unfortunate for them.
Sad.
But as a Packers fan, you just love the incompetence.
It's
Mac Jones might be the safer play this week.
He might be, but we know no matter what, Josh Allen's the better player.
Against the Commanders this week, is that 20 points too low?
I wouldn't be surprised if it's an 18-point week for Josh Allen. That front seven's pretty good. Chase Young's back to being healthy again. Deron Payne, that defense has some pieces. And it's in Washington, and Josh Allen seems to struggle a little bit more on the road. So 20 might be too low, but 20 also might be too high. This is one of those matchups that it depends on what Josh Allen... I hate saying this now, because last year I was on the bandwagon of Josh Allen being the best quarterback in the league. Now you're kind of getting, is he going to be the best quarterback in the league, or is he going to be the 17th best quarterback in the league?
I think he's going to get back into form. It's just the crudiness of the first couple of weeks. He'll get out of it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But running backs, Gus Edwards, I like. I think he's the guy to have. Josh Jacobs against Pittsburgh's defense. Pittsburgh's defense got ran all over on Monday night, so Josh Jacobs isn't a bad play. And then Raheem Mostert looks mostly good.
He's got a good, strong handle on that job. Chargers 12 points last week. He got 25 points, like for real, against the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I didn't believe it, but I think if we know Raheem Mostert at some point he's going to get injured, he's gonna lose his job. It happens every.
Either Solomon Amon will take over, or Achin will take it over. It's just a matter of which hand they go with. It's Mostert, like you said.
Yep. Yeah. Christy's running backs though, I don't like them.
No.
Charbonnet. I liked Charbonnet coming into the year. I thought he would be the number 2 guy, but it seems like they still like DJ Dallas. Deion Jackson, he's not the guy that replaces Jonathan Taylor. There looks like Zach Moss. And Miles Sanders, does he even remember how to play football anymore?
He got a limited practice in today.
Yeah, but what good is that if I don't trust Miles Sanders anymore. So give me Darren's running backs and then wide receivers. T. Higgins finally showed up. Garrett Wilson is the only person worth having from the Jets.
Yes. As I dropped Alan Lazard in 2 leagues.
But then you've got Rashad Bateman and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Bateman
has a little bit more value this week because of the Odell injury. I will say that. And then Amon-Ra, he's a little banged up right now. Is that something to be concerned? I don't think so. But we'll see. Well, that's an interesting thing to keep track of.
Yeah, and then touchdown Henry and Evan Ingram. I mean, Hunter Henry's been looking good.
He has, and he's the safety valve for Mac Jones, which you like to see. So when it comes down to it,
your wife needs a prayer.
I think you're right.
she's got a little retooling she's got to get done with the running backs.
Yeah, and remember, she does have Jonathan Taylor on IR, so Jonathan Taylor comes back if he comes back.
Yeah.
That's value right there. So, but you know what? I've been doing this long enough. I'm gonna say this: is Darren the new me that can't beat Christy? I'm gonna pick Christy this week. There's something about that. I think Charbonnet takes off at some point, and now that I don't have to play her again, I think Charbonnet can go off this week.
Because you got high, you picked your wife. I'm telling you, that's a bad pick. You and your picks, my man. This is Darren's week to win.
All right. Nick does not have the confidence in Christy. That's okay. I'm telling to do this right now. From the producer herself. At least on my end. All right. And then our last matchup of the bigs. We have dropped like a sack of potatoes. Caleb against Sam. Sam's looking good up in the bigs. I know.
2-0.
I was surprised that he's in first, but Tyreek Hill and Dallas's defense are two of the top 3 scoring fantasy players.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, when are we going to come back to reality and stop being on planet delusional with Tyreek Hill and Dallas's defense?
I don't know. Tyreek Hill's got a Q next to him. Just limited, but we'll see.
I don't think it's an issue. And I don't think Dallas's defense is coming back down to reality. They're playing the Cardinals and Josh Dobbs. I feel like 11 points is too low of a projection.
It's a little low.
I feel like it's I'm going to say an 18-point week for Dallas's defense.
Very, very possible.
I
think his 111 points that he's projected to score is a little low.
I think so. I really like Sam's team. But Sam does have one glaring problem. He only has one quarterback, and it's Lamar Jackson. Is Lamar Jackson trusted to stay healthy?
No. I mean, we could discount week 1 all we want. He was a bumbling buffoon out there. 2.5 points. And last week he balled out against the Bengals. So he's still susceptible to stupid mistakes.
Worried about Lamar, except for if he can stay healthy. And I think I'd take Lamar over Jalen Hurts this week. Jalen just doesn't look right yet.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is
it's the hangover from the previous years, though.
It might be, but Justice Hill, I feel like he's touchdown dependent. But Ramondre Stevenson, he is the workhorse. He's the guy to have from that Patriot backfield.
Yes, Zeke Elliott is a nice change of pace, but that's about it.
That's all he is now. And then Javonte Williams. I know you loved Javonte for 2 years.
Not this year.
But last week, telling you, he's gonna take off here soon. Watch for Javonte Williams to take off.
He'll get now that he's healthy. I mean,
you gotta get more confidence in your body and relearn your body and all that. So we'll see. I don't hate him. It's just he's got to get the more confidence in there. And it's again Sean Payton.
Yep, and then you've got James Cook and Jahmyr Gibbs. That's a good little combo right there. That's a young combo that could be keeper worthy for quite a few years.
Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs looks good. So doesn't Cook.
Yeah, and then wide receivers. Hollywood Brown. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I actually like Hollywood Brown play this week. It's but they're going to be throwing the ball so much that the volume's going to be there.
Volume was there last week,
and he delivered. They're starting to use him a lot, so I don't hate the Hollywood Brown play.
It's a safe play because Drake London is he must be showing up only in London. That's my guess.
Then, but then Tyreek Hill is going to be Tyreek Hill, and then Olave against the Packers. I don't love Olave this week. I feel like Olave's due for a bad game.
Problem is you have Michael Thomas, who's looked really good.
Michael Thomas, good.
Olave, and there's only one cornerback to cover both of them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Again, so this is interesting. Michael Thomas and Chris Olave. Who do you think goes off this week?
The underneath guy, Chris Olave.
I think so. But then Mike Evans. I like Mike Evans this week. Baker looks like a confident quarterback again. He's healthy again, which I think plays a big role. And Baker likes the oversized, bigger receivers.
I think that's the big thing is you got to just be competitive in the South just to be able to make the playoffs.
Yep. And then Freiermuth against Higbee. Freiermuth, I feel like, got written out of the game plan Monday night. So I don't take any stock in his bad performance and his low performance. But I think I'll go Higbee over Freiermuth this week.
Mm-hmm. It's fair.
So I think it's clear. I know who I'm taking. Who are you taking with this one?
Till proven otherwise, Sam.
I would agree. Caleb did avoid relegation by the skin of his teeth, literally. So it's interesting to see how he's responding. So he does need a little bit of help to get going. He is 1-1, but he just needs a little bit extra right now, it seems like. All right. That takes care of the big. Let's go to Wii League. Okay? In our Wii League game of the week, we've got 2-0 teams between Mark Nelson and Mark Friedman. The battle of the Marks. Both teams are 2-0, and both teams are built very well.
Yeah. It's fair to say.
Mahomes, Russell Wilson, give me Mahomes. All guys that we talked about in this matchup, except Jordan Addison. What's Jordan Addison's upside this week? Is there Jordan Addison upside?
Well, there is. I'll give you just a little run. This is why I like this kid.
6 and 5 in targets. Over 60 yards in each first of his games. Got a touchdown in each one of his games. MFL, he's getting 14 points a week. I mean, sky's the limit for him right now. I mean, Justin Jefferson is still Justin Jefferson, but
yeah, and I feel like a 13-point spread by MFL, it just seems like it's a lot. I don't think 13 points is. I mean, 10 of those 13 points is between Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes. I don't think Russ is the problem in Denver. That defense can't stop anybody. And I know one of his touchdowns was a garbage time touchdown, but it's Sean Payton, and at some point, Sean Payton's going to get Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel
it's just a mental game.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna go with Mark this week.
Yeah, I tend to lean towards Mark Nelson. There seems to be a lot of good play. The only thing I do not like about his team would be the tight end play.
Yeah, I don't love the tight end play either. But I also get why he's doing it. Bills fan going Dawson Knox.
I mean, Mark Friedman has got a really good team. He's off to a good start. He's off to 2-0 start. So
yep, he's got some injury concerns. Deontay Johnson, Saquon, Odell. It'll be interesting to see what. I don't feel like this is his final lineup. Just going to throw that out there. But we got to go with what we see. Up next, we do have Lincoln and Chad. Now Chad, if we were to combine the Bigs and the Wii League, Chad has scored the second most points overall behind Sam. And again, what's the common factor? Tyreek Hill, Dallas's defense.
Yeah, and poor Chatty's 1-1 though.
Chatty's 1-1. That one was almost a that's gotta hurt award this week. Him losing. He got bested. But Lincoln needs a win. He's 0-2. Last year, we were talking about him all the way through the beginning of the season being a guy set up for promotion. And this year, just doesn't seem like he's playing his cards right.
No, he's got some bad hands being dealt to him.
Yep. But one name that sticks out to me is Jahan Dotson. I really like Jahan Dotson. Look for him to have a big week against the Bills because I think Tre'Davious White goes on Terry McLaurin all week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What concerns me is for Chad is that running game.
It seems like to follow Chad everywhere.
It's if David Montgomery's okay, he'll be fine. That Jamal Williams injury seems to be a multi-week injury.
Yeah, and James Conner's healthy. I don't hate James Conner. Lincoln's got the tight end advantage with Mark Andrews. But even defenses, it's not going to be as far off, I don't think. I'm actually going to give Lincoln the win this week. I'm calling upset. I'm going to go Lincoln this week. I think Trevor Lawrence has a big game, as big as Justin Herbert. So look for Lincoln to pull off a win.
Till Tyreek Hill proves me otherwise. It's Chad this week.
All right, a little bit of difference in the wheelie as we continue on. All right, next we've got Matt against Owen. All right, look at this. Owen is 2-0 after what did he start last year? Like 0-7.
Yes, a long time before he got his first win.
It was something crazy like that, and he's starting 2-0. And I mean, he had the number 1 pick in that draft. Went Christian McCaffrey. You can't go wrong with that. But look at this. Kirk Cousins is solid. I don't see a weakness in Owen's team.
The only weakness he has right now is just a slight injury.
Yeah, it's a slight injury with Amon-Ra St. Brown. But even then, look at his bench with running backs. Cam Akers, very Swift. He's got wide receivers. He's got 3 good wide receivers. Okay, 2 good wide receivers, and then a serviceable Gabe Davis. I like Owen's team. George Kittle, and then Matt's team. Matt always goes, it seems like, wide receiver heavy.
Except for this week.
I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm stuck in a time lapse right now. I don't know how to handle Matt starting 3 running backs. 4 if you count Lamar Jackson.
I think his issue is I could see him have started Brandon Ayuk if he was healthy.
Yeah, I mean, we go back one.
The health thing is a big issue with him this week.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. I mean, look at that. I think Jamar Chase gonna have a good week against the Rams. Depends on who's throwing him the ball, of course. But Puka, I think Puka Nacua, he is the real deal. I don't think it's a fluke that you get 15 plus targets a game.
I mean, Tutu Atwell are doing really well with targets.
Yeah, and we know Matt Stafford when he finds a guy that he likes to throw the ball to, he locks in on them. So look for Puka to keep the value up. But I think this matchup comes down to defense. I think it's really close, and I think San Francisco has the better defense. We know San Francisco has the better defense.
Absolutely. I think Owen's got the edge.
I agree.
Just top to bottom, he has the edge.
Yeah. I think the only place where Matt has the edge is quarterback with Lamar Jackson. All right. Moving quite right along. We have Coleman against Bryan. Now, we did fix the issue of Coleman last week in submitting an invalid lineup, and he did pull off the win mathematically. So He's sitting at 1-1, and Bryan had a huge week last week for a huge win and being the team that I think you and I thought that he could be.
Bryan knows football. Just a matter of how much it translates to fantasy football.
Bryan knows Bills football.
He knows real football. He really does.
He does, and he's always going to start Josh Allen. But top to bottom, Coleman told me this is his first year with this. He's getting used to it. He drafted a good team, but got snake bit with a Nick Chubb injury. There's nothing you can do about that. Cooper Kupp injured. Can't do anything about that. So there's some injury issues there, but he doesn't have a terrible team.
No, I mean, if it wasn't for the Chubb injury, the Kupp injury, even the Kamara suspension, different team. Completely different team than he's right now.
Yeah, we're talking different team. We're talking about playoff contention. If this was a dynasty team, I would say this team's a year away. Make a couple moves, but the Wii League is a full redraft. He's got some pieces there that could go off. Look for him to figure out. I mean, this is a great way to learn fantasy football.
Yeah, this league's, especially the Wii League, is very, very friendly with learning. We're all pretty chill about everything here. So, like, Cooper Kupp coming back this year, possibility. Chubb, he's just an easy drop in a redraft. And Kamara is projected to be back next week. So
Kamara should be back next week. Everything points to that.
Yeah, so there's easy, just looking at this, there's easy he can free up 2 positions and add 2 more players down there.
Yeah. Bryan does have one name on his bench that I want to mention. Rashid Shaheed seems to be Derek Carr's favorite deep threat.
For now.
But look for him to continue getting a play in some of those.
I think with so much question mark at the running back position this week, they're going to be just throwing the ball.
Yeah, I think Rashid Shaheed's one of those guys too who could take a 5-yard slant to the house.
Mm-hmm.
He's quick. So, I think you can pick Bryan without any hesitation here. Not anything against Coleman. It's just that there's injuries, and sometimes you don't have you don't have a win, and that's what happens. And I feel like that's Coleman's team this week.
It's very well. It's just this week happens.
Yep. All right. 2 more in the Wii League, and we've got Brandon against Touchdown Toads is Victor. Okay. Victor is sitting at 0-2, looking to get his first win, but he also has the Justin Fields issue that Darren does. It's interesting. The Ezekiel Elliott start is interesting. I thought so too when I saw this, but it's I feel like that's more name recognition over any.
The Pickens makes more sense. You really don't have much to do. I mean, it's either A.J. Dillon or Najee Harris. I mean, they're not really great options.
Yeah. I mean, Brandon loves Gus Edwards. We know that. Najee Harris, at some point, he's going to get the ball right. He's going to be good again, right? But I feel like the play that puts this over the top for the Brandon this week for Brandon is Nico Collins. Nico Collins is establishing himself as a number 1 wide receiver with C.J. Stroud, and I think there's some value to have with that. And look for Nico Collins to continue to grow in that role. They're going to be needing to pass the ball, and I think there's value in that. His target share's up. Look for Nico Collins to be this year's. Is it safe to say he's this year's breakout player candidate?
Too early.
Too early. Too early. Give it a couple more weeks.
We'll see. I'm going to say he's on breakout player watch. He's on the watch list.
The thing with alarming with Victor this week is he's playing
Against the Colts defense and Justin Fields. I don't like those two plays.
Yeah.
And Zeke.
I'm not a big fan of that.
It looks like he hasn't submitted a lineup yet, but still, that's kind of concerning.
Yeah, I would even start Romeo Doubs over Zeke. I think that's a stronger flex play. So I'm taking Brandon this week though. Even if Victor makes some of those changes, I like Brandon's matchup. He's got more proven players on his team.
Correct.
I would go with Brandon.
All right, and last but certainly not least, we've got Daniel against Shayne. Can we start saying Mr. Ex-Commissioner, Mr. Former Commissioner?
The former commissioner.
Mr. Former Commissioner, coming through with the rules analysis for us. Thank you, Shayne, for that with the invalid lineup. But Shayne, once again, is sitting in a spot where I feel like Shayne needs a win to take off.
I'm telling you, that Kyron Williams thing, that's going to be it this week.
Yeah, I'm looking at the standings right now, and he's sitting at 1-1, but it seems like that team should be 2-0.
He's got the pieces. I mean, the problem is he's been killed with this Joe Burrow play all year.
Yeah, and that's what killed him week 1. But his team, especially with Kyron Williams being healthy, he's got Roschon Johnson on the bench, which you know how I feel about Roschon Johnson. Kyron Williams, we talked about him. He's a candidate to start breaking out. He's another breakout watch list, Kyron Williams. But the wide receivers that Shayne has, Justin Jefferson and Devontae Smith, easily could be considered 2 of the top 5 receivers in the game.
Mm-hmm. And me personally, I would start Zay Flowers over Drake London.
Yeah, I don't like Drake London. I understand starting him. There's a reason why he was picked the first wide receiver in that draft. But look at who we see for Daniel, a name that we didn't talk about in the bigs, Mr. Kyle Pitts. Can Kyle Pitts get some love?
Try not. No, he gets no love.
Can Kyle Pitts please get the ball? He gets wide open, and Desmond Ridder doesn't throw him the ball. Throw Kyle Pitts the ball, and good things are going to happen.
Sam Laporta is the play.
Laporta is the play. I agree, but come on, man, get Kyle Pitts the ball, Desmond Ridder. You're better than that.
Where's your "come on, man" sound?
Come on, man.
Man.
I do my own, Chris Carter. But when it comes down to it, even if Joe Burrow's, Shayne's in a rough spot this week. I'm not gonna lie.
I think Shayne has plenty to win this week. He's got the parts. CeeDee Lamb's gonna have a high score this week, but he's got enough. He's got more there from top to bottom.
I agree, but the one thing that Shayne has against him, he's got Brock Purdy playing tomorrow night, but Joe Burrow playing Monday night. Which one do you go with? Do you risk Joe Burrow not playing on Monday night?
Yep.
All right. Nick says it, so it must be true. All right, so that's a wrap on our picks. It'll be interesting to see how we go into next week, what we've got going on. Nick, what are you looking forward to this week?
Packers home opener against Saints.
Packers home opener. Nobody can argue with that.
1 o'clock game.
What I'm looking for is seeing some of these guys that we were talking about: Nico Collins, Kyron Williams, some of these some of these little names looking to become big names. I think some of them are going to become huge successes, but look for them to be able to continue to grow in their roles and see if they can handle the workload. Those are a couple of things that I'm looking for this week.
Yeah, it'll be good. Continuing off the continued play of success of last week will be really important.
Yep. All right, that does it for us. Nick, any last words as we sign off?
Go Pack, go.
All right, here we go, Steelers. Let's go. And good luck to everybody, and we'll see you next week for the Rush Report.